Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special warm-up race for a very, very special event, the Merdeka National Day Special SRE and SRA event. We're at the Suzuka International Circuit. My name is Matthew Palmer, and with me today is Chan Wei Han.
Hi Matthew, hi everyone. Yes, thank you so much for tuning into such a special coverage here tonight. This is in in preparation for the big event, the Merdeka SG55 sprint that we're going to have this Saturday, but of course it is still going to be a 45-minute long GT3 race for everyone here. So we have quite a diverse field of racing drivers from sim racing enthusiasts as well as drivers from Sim Racers Asia. So you've got drivers from Malaysia, from Macau, from Brunei, from various other places, Hong Kong as well, Australia, and also a couple of drivers from Singapore.
Absolutely, as you can see there, Simon Sanchez in that beautiful Macau liveried car. This is truly a multinational event out there at the moment, but we are here to celebrate the national days of both Malaysia and Singapore. In Malaysia, it's Merdeka Day, the 31st of August, and what is it in Singapore?
It's just a national day in Singapore, 55th National Day this year, 9th of August.
Alrighty, so basically this is a nice little cross-strait cooperation between the two sort of enthusiasts communities to sort of bring the groups together and bring racers from all over Asia in order to have a nice good time and to increase a little bit of the cooperation between the Malaysian sim racers and the Singaporeans.
Absolutely, and very quickly indeed, we've already got many fast drivers setting down fast lap times already. So we are riding on board Kelly Spoon. He is from Hong Kong. He's come to join this special event with us. We're always grateful for everyone who's joined us. He has a lap time of 2:01.188, and it would appear that he's probably disconnected a little, and he's going to finish this one lap. So, of course, we did miss the coverage of most of the practice session, but of course, the focus of this race is in fact the qualifying session that will happen in just around 6 minutes' time. A 15-minute long qualifying session followed by a 45-minute sprint race, GT3s. So do remember that these guys have 50% fuel ceiling, which means that drivers will have to pit for fuel later on in the race.
Absolutely, and as we've seen with a few of the other races on Adrenaline Impact channel, the strategy for these longer races really does play a very, very big role indeed in how these guys get on indeed. But right now we have our top 10 right now: Wong Healy, Saiful, Ilham, Sanchez, Leon, Poon, Irshad, Cardozo, Texera, and Termizi is just outside of the top 10 there in 11th place. And it looks like these guys are actually quite close to each other in terms of pace. And it looks to be that the pole time is going to be below 2 minutes around this fantastic Suzuka circuit. Quite a feat in a GT3 car, I can tell you that much for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we do have a mix of a few different, in fact, many different GT3 spec cars. Each car does kind of come along with unique handling characteristics, and this is one of them, the Mercedes AMG GT3, one of the more popular GT3 cars. It's decked out in the beautiful Malaysian livery, the livery used by the guys in sim racing enthusiasts, with, of course, Adrenaline Impact on the cars. So this is Tengku Irshad. His lap time was 2:01.494, and he's coming around this spoon section. And of course, this is the one section where the corners are actually off camber, which means that drivers will have to be extra careful as they take the apex around this corner.
Absolutely, and then they're going to come down into one of the most famous corners in motorsports, 130R, a real test of bravery in a Grand Prix car. It's almost flat in these cars. You really have to drive the car through the corners there. Throttle discipline is key.
And this is the Casio triangle that he just made his way around. And this is Ryan Lam, beautiful looking, a Hong Kong version of the full livery. Hong Kong livery, beautiful garnet red, I guess, on the car. And it's always nice to see this BMW Z4 GT3. It came out in, I would imagine it was 2015. It came out to the iRacing service, and it's just been one of the. Back then, it was in fact one of the mainstay GT3 cars before the Mercedes and Audi were released. And even now, it's considered one of the more stable cars that drivers can just get on and have a lot of fun with.
Absolutely, the stability of this car is second to none. It's a very popular entry point into GT3 racing. The car is very nice, easy to use, and user-friendly, which more than makes up for its perceived lack of pace. But I have seen Z4s being pushed around the track very fast indeed, and with the close BOP of GT3 cars, you can be assured that Ryan Lamb has all of the opportunities to try and take pole position.
Back with his teammate, this is yet another Macau paint scheme car. I think, as opposed to the previous seasons where the paint schemes were more of teams, right now it's just both, they've made good use of the way the Macau and Hong Kong flags are and just decked out the whole car in that paint scheme. It just looks so beautiful, especially with the new spec maps that the iRacing has implemented with their paint schemes. This is Frederico Teixeira. He sits in 11th at this time with his lap time of 2:02, and we've got a couple of minutes, just 2 minutes to go before the end of practice sessions. So it's just we should see more drivers. We should have a good representation of some of the lap times at this point. This is Fred Ting, our friend from Brunei, who has so graciously joined us to race here as well tonight. And he's in quite nice looking blue paint scheme car, and his lap time is a 2:03. So you can see that all these cars are quite close together in fact. And if you can move the camera to one car behind, that is the car behind Fred. Alright, this is Virus. Yeah. No, actually I just caught sight of in fact Charles Teixeira's car behind there with the Craft Bamboo paint scheme. But this is Saiful Arifin. He is making his way around the S's. I just mesmerized by some of the paint schemes that these guys are running right now.
Absolutely, a little bit of the Auto Union history being displayed on there with that chrome silver paint job. Looks very nice indeed, juxtaposed with the SRE branding and that little touch of carbon black as well. Saiful Arifin and Ilham Hlabi, two of our quickest drivers. They have the most experience when it comes to driving in GT3 machinery. They did quite well for themselves in GTE machineries during the 24-hour of Le Mans official race, and they were doing quite well for themselves in the GT3 race at Spa earlier this year. So look out for those two guys to be amongst the quicker SRE drivers.
And yes, this is Charles Teixeira. He does it. As we just said that he does go around. This is in fact the Craft Bamboo paint scheme. He is in fact part of the Craft Bamboo racing team that is based in Hong Kong. And of course, Charles does work in a marketing and public relations role in the Craft Bamboo GT outfit. And very nice to have him here as well. He's our other driver who comes from Singapore.
Absolutely, and it's fantastic to see a outfit like Craft Bamboo involved in a no small way than lending their livery to Charles to run for this event. Speaking from experience, those Craft Bamboo guys are all right down to the person, absolutely passionate about motorsports, and it really goes to show in their performances out in the real world of motorsports.
And this is the driver of them all. This is Eric Wong. He's come out on his qualifying lap. We have in fact transitioned to qualifying. So, because Eric did lead the lap time standings during practice with 1:59.054, which is pretty much 4 to 5 tenths away from the rest of the grid. And we'll just follow him and observe a couple of other drivers as he makes his way around a lap around Suzuka as he puts down his qualifying lap times.
Absolutely, coming into Degner curves, very, very tricky to try and get it right. You're sort of braking for most of the complex, but you have to get this exit absolutely perfect. Eric Wong does so. Even though he's on his outlap, you can tell he is pushing the car quite hard in order to try and get some heat into the tyres. into the hairpin here coming out. You've got to be a little bit careful on the rumble strips on the exit there. But will we see from Eric Wong a sub 59 second lap?
So here he comes barreling down into the spoon corner. Okay, this is the out lap. In fact, the drivers have 2 laps to make their qualifying lap count. It's very much similar to the iRacing official series, the VRS GT series. They do get 15 minutes, 2 laps to do their qualifying lap. So this line that it takes down the backstretch, of course, will go to the left and then back outside to the right again in preparation for the entry into 130. You can just hear he lifts his car ever so slightly. It's all necessary in order to get his car around that corner. Coming hard on the brakes down into Casio Triangle. And this is him completing his out lap and going for a flying lap.
Absolutely, we're going to see a very, very quick time indeed. Coming from Eric Wong, he's one of the more experienced drivers in the SRA community, and it looks like he's going to really put a challenge up to all the other drivers out there on the grid. But I can rest assure you, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have quite a few drivers chasing after Eric come race time.
So this is him making his way around the S's, and I would imagine that some of the other cars are also doing their qualifying laps at this time. It's not. I think that there are many drivers who can, in fact, give Eric a run for his money. Of course, our friend Saiful Arifin, who's if we have a look at the practice lap times in comparison, Saiful Arifin came in 3rd, and 2nd in the lap times was Michael Healy. Both of them were within the 1:59 lap times. Also Ilham Halabi as well, fast drivers. So keep an eye out for these 4 drivers: Eric Wong, Michael Healy, Saiful Arifin, and Ilham Halabi as they set their lap times.
Absolutely, 4 very, very experienced, very fast drivers at the head of the field. It's going to be very interesting indeed, because that's 2 drivers from the SRA community with experience in the VRS series, and it's 2 SRE drivers who have been in the iRacing service for a very long time. I believe Ilham Halabi actually started right as the iRacing service itself started. That was back in 2009 or 2008, I believe. And it just goes to show that in sim racing we've been around for a long time, and it does go to show with some of the drivers they're having a lot of experience coming into this race.
So here comes Eric Wong. He comes around the final chicane and onto the final corner. So let's have a look at what lap time he's able to set for himself. He sets a 1:59.803, which is 8 tenths of a second away from his practice lap time. We've got another driver who set a lap time, Jaisri Jali, our friend. He's got a 2:01.676. So these 2 drivers have got 1 lap left to go respectively. So we're now with Y in as well, and of course his friend Simon Sanchez has set a lap time of 2:01.127. So this is Michael Healy, another fast driver. He's going to come upon the Castle Triangle, and we'll have a look at what lap time he set for himself. His lap time perhaps to beat would be 1:59.8, and see if he'll be able to clinch pole position from here. Comes across the start finish line with a 1:59.440, faster than his practice lap time, and he now has provisional pole position.
Absolutely, the battle is heating up, and now we're going to go on to board with another one of those top 4 drivers. Saiful Arifin is now heading up underneath the Panasonic and Dunlop gantries and coming into 130R. Just listen to the big the big Audi go through the corner there. The barest of lifts coming into the corner before setting himself up for the Casio Triangle. Going to be very careful on the throttle coming out of here. Let's see if he's able to do anything. He went purple in the second to last of the 6 sectors here. Let's see what he can do. For a lap time, he's 3rd with a 2-minute flat point 1:45. So he is up into 3rd position. He'll want to try and improve that for his next attempt.
So we're now riding with Charles de Serra, and he is now around the midpoint of the circuit. He's also another fast driver that we'll absolutely have to keep our eyes on. At this point, we've got 10 drivers who have set their qualifying lap time. So Charles comes along the back stretch, and he, as we have a look at where his car is, yep, another driver who set his lap time, and total of 11 drivers who qualified. Charles makes his way around 130. And he's going to approach the hard-braking section of Casio Triangle. He misses the apex, and this is definitely going to cost his lap time as he comes around, exits the Casio Triangle onto the final corner. So let's see what lap time he sets. He comes across the start-finish line. He puts down a 2:02.485, and it would appear that he's bailed from his lap. And we have still got half the field who've yet to set their qualified lap times, but we're now with Ilham.
Absolutely, and as we see, Healy was on a much quicker lap there, but we'll see if he gets across the line. But meanwhile, Ilham Hlabi is going absolutely flat, chat. I believe he is in another one of those wonderful Audi R8 LMS cars, going through the spoon curve here. Very, very difficult to try and get this right. These corners go on for so long that being accurate is going to be a real challenge for Ilham Hlabi around that section, as it will be for the rest of the drivers. Now again, coming up to 130, I get a real sense of how quick they are going through this lap just by listening to how they apply their throttle through there, and now braking hard, and he's missed the apex again. We've seen a couple of the drivers miss the apex at Casio Triangle. How badly would this have affected Ilham Hlabi's lap time? Let's see as he goes across the line. He has set a time of... It must have been the out lap. So Ilham Hlabi luckily making his mistakes on the lap before his timed lap there. So perhaps a lucky escape, but that braking zone coming into Casio Triangle certainly is giving a lot of the drivers quite a bit of a headache.
Have a look at our friend Bruno Cardoso from Macau. He has bailed? No, he hasn't bailed. He's set a lap time of 2:02.990 for his qualifying. That puts him in 14th on the grid. And I think these are all the drivers who have become well set, and some of them they've probably decided to bail early on. Oh, a bit of mistake going wide along the exit of Dagner 1 by Freddie Tick. I think this might do a bit of damage to his qualifying lap times.
Absolutely, very, very difficult indeed to try and gain any sort of position from there. Calvin Ha, another driver associated with the Real World Race team. His day job involves working with the 778 Autosport team as a fairly decent technician and engineer. Very, very well experienced both in the real world of motorsports and in the sim racing world. So let's see how quick he can get through on this lap. And it looks like he's not able to improve his lap time. So that is Calvin Ha perhaps attempting another lap.
And this is Ilham with coming for another attempt around the Suzuka circuit. So he made the mistake around Casio Triangle earlier on. Is he able to make his way around? Yes, he does nail that apex, the first apex, the second apex, and the exit. Does extremely well. Is coming around the final corner. Let's see what lap time he set for himself across the start finish line. He sets a lap time of... Unfortunately, has not been able to set a lap time. He might have been faced with an incident earlier on, so unfortunately he's not going to be up there on the grid.
And as another driver decides to bail on his qualifying session, you'll see this happen quite often because, as we mentioned earlier on, the drivers are only allowed 2 laps, I believe, for qualifying, so they really want to make sure that they're on a quick lap, otherwise they will bail, as we see there.
Tunku Isha, one of the faster drivers around as well. His previous lap time was a 2:02.001, and he's currently on his second qualifying lap time. Well, I think he's already qualified, and he's probably just getting some extra practice mileage in. You can in fact do that if your qualifying section is still ongoing.
Absolutely, and that's a very intelligent move by Irshad to try and get a little bit more practice in. You have 15 minutes. It is possible to do more than just 2 qualifying attempts, and perhaps Irshad just making sure that he has got that car and himself dialed in for the race.
Round 130, you can just see how much it was of a swing of the weight around in order to make his way around the corner and braking a little earlier than usual for Casio Triangle. And we're back with Freddie Ting, and let's have a look at his. This is I would believe this is his outlap.
Alrighty, and now we're going to see Ilham attempt one more time to try and get that qualifying lap in. Perfect on the first part of Casio Triangle, perfect on the second, perfect on the exit. Let's see how quick he is in terms of overall pace across the line. Let's see what he's got. Yet another perhaps lap time that didn't register on the timing screen. He's going to be a little bit worried about that. Meanwhile, Jaswin Jali is going to go across the line. Let's see what lap time he's able to pull off. And another lap time that perhaps did not count there. But so far on our qualifying session, we're 12 minutes, almost 13 minutes into a 15-minute session, and Fred Ting is going to try and go out for another qualifying attempt. But meanwhile, we have Healy up in first place, followed by Eddie Wong in second. Saiful Arifin is in third position, followed by Lam, Sanchez, Leong, Jazrin, Irshad, Mohammed, and Tessera. That's your top 10 so far for the qualifying session.
So you just kind of take in the sights and sounds of the cars making their way around the Suzuka circuit. I would think that this is one of the very historic places in Asian motorsport. If we do very much consider, how Suzuka has in fact existed way back in the day, and is in fact I would believe this is perhaps one of the oldest circuits, motor racing circuits in all of Asia, and of course, racing here. Although it is very hard on the tires, it does provide a lot of good racing, and it's also very much a good driving experience for everyone.
Absolutely, and there is remarkably little that has been changed around this racetrack. For 1987, they did make changes to Degner Curve and introduced the Casio Triangle a little bit earlier on in 86, and that was in preparation for the first Japanese Grand Prix to be held at Suzuka Circuit. Since then, apart from some repaves, the only notable change is that of the 130R corner, which was made just a little bit easier to go flat out in the Formula 1 cars.
And we are now riding with Kake, who has in fact been unable to set a qualifying lap time, so he is still riding. We are still riding with him. He's set a practice lap time of 2:03, which is in fact very proper fast, and we will just observe as he makes his way around the track. This is the hairpin, in fact the hairpin that does sometimes catch drivers off. You do have to downshift all the way, and it's one of the sharper corners that you have to take. So unfortunately, the qualifying session has come to an end, which means that the other drivers who might have been out there are unable to complete their qualifying lap runs. But we're now able to then progress on to the starting grid. So as we move to the start of the race, sorry Max, yeah. So starting from pole position, Michael Healy from Australia, New Zealand, he sets a lap time of a blistering 1:58.813. That's extremely fast. And Eric Wong joins him alongside on the first row of the grid with a lap time of 1:59.695. Saiful Arifin and Ryan Lam join behind them in row 2, 3rd and 4th position respectively. Simon Sanchez and Leong Wai In will begin from 5th and 6th. Jaiswin Jali and Tengku Irshad 7th and 8th. Muhammad Muhaimin and Charles Tessera 9th and 10th. We've also got Tamizi Yusuf and Zainul Hazim from 11th and 12th.
And further down in 13th place, we have Azrael Nazi, followed by Bruno Cardoso in 14th position. Fred Ting from Brunei is in 15th, followed by Mohammad Fazil. And further on down from there, we have Ilham Habi, who struggled a little bit in qualifying. Calix Poon from Hong Kong is in 18th position. Afik Fadlan is in 19th, followed by Mohammad Shukran, Calvin Ha, Malvinderjit Singh, Federico Teixeira, and Ka K in 24th position. Now, as we wait for the drivers to begin their warm-up lap, the nerves are building. The drivers are pacing themselves behind the official pace car. That Porsche 911 has control of the field until he pulls off into the pits. The drivers certainly feeling the nerves a little bit now. Eric Wall looking over to Michael Healy there. He's going to try and follow Healy through the start of the race. Tactics are going to be important here. And now, as the safety car goes off and peels off into the pits, Michael Healy has control of the field. We're about to go to red lights and then to green flag running. Michael Healy still keeping the pace all the way up to the end of the straight. You can see the roaring thousands of horsepower ready to be released. And it's lights out, green flag, and away we go. Michael Healy is coming down into the first place, and it looks like Wong has managed to go around the outside of... Lam has managed to go around the outside of Wong. Saifar Arifin has a watching brief in fourth position. Healy managing to get right up there into the lead. He's had a fantastic start. He's already got a rather long thing, and it looks like Wong is off. Wong has gone off in the S's there, so that's Ryan Lam in second place, followed by Sanchez, Saiful, Jazrin, and Leong. But Michael Healy has managed to gain a rather large lead off of that restart. Off of that main start. So a fantastic job there for Michael Healy to get away from the field, and Ryan Lam, fantastic racing to get himself up into second position.
So it was otherwise quite a clean race start by everyone else on the grid. Michael Healy already forming such a breakaway for himself so early on in the race, and Ryan Lam, Simon Sanchez, the Hong Kong and Macau drivers commanding the rest of the field at this point. And someone's gone around and behind it is the Ferrari of Wai-In. He's going to lose a couple more positions as the other drivers pick up after that, and they are now making their way down towards the halfway point of the Suzuka circuit. This is a spoon corner, and Ryan takes this corner. He leads the rest of the field. Michael Healy has gotten himself a 2.5 seconds lead ahead of the rest of the field.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic start from Healy. He's absolutely nailed the rolling start perfectly there. Charles Teixeira is going to go and challenge around the outside of Mohamed. He's unable to do so, so he'll be looking for another chance further around the lap there. But it looks like Mohamed's gone a little bit wide, and Teixeira manages to go get himself into the outside, going into the Casio Triangle. Will he make it through? Yes, he has. He has, in fact, made it through, and Charles Teixeira has managed to gain another position up to 6th. That's 4 positions gain just before the start of the second lap.
Everyone's still closely packed together, especially at this point. This is the battle for P6 that Charles had just claimed, and this is Jayasri, who sits behind Saiful, both Malaysian drivers going to battle it out. So right now we're sitting with 5th position. This is probably going to shape to a 3-way battle starting from 3rd, held by Simon Sanchez in that green Macau car in front of him. And of course, I would see that I think Simon has made a slight bit of a mistake as he went around the S's, and at this point, it's all about trying to keep the gap and keep your cars in front of you, close to you, as close as possible.
Absolutely. Jasmine Jolly has a lot of experience through there, and that's Eric Wong, who's unfortunately gone out of the track. He's going to go back into the pits. He'll try and repair that car, I'm sure. He is not one to give up. Meanwhile, we join the battle for 8th position between Wai-In Leong and Tengku Irshad. Wai-In diving into the inside there and managing to make that overtaking maneuver stick. That is a fantastic, opportunistic, late-breaking maneuver from Wai-In Leong.
Yes, a great move by him, lunging down the inside down the hairpin, and this means that he's moved out to A position, goes around, and oh, that's just undone. The overtaking move that is made is going to lose even more positions as he tries to find a way to slot in and rejoin the field. He rejoins in 12th position, and that is Australia, the Ford GT, coming up hot on him. Saiful Arifin is in 4th. He's sitting behind Simon Sanchez at this point. He's managed to close up that gap, and they're going to battle it out as they come upon Castle Triangle. Heartbreaking, they go Ryan in the distance in front, but so far away in front is Michael Healy.
Absolutely, and all this battling is going to take air off of the cars, which is going to make it even harder to catch Michael Healy up front. Ryan Lamb really is the only driver out there with clean air ahead of him. He might have a chance of trying to gain that position back. But meanwhile, Saiful Arifin really putting a lot of pressure on Sanchez. He's running a little bit wide through there, and he's going into the S's now. He really can't make an overtaking maneuver here, but he might be able to do so coming out of the double-up curve and into Degner.
So while the cars are beginning to slightly space out from one another, we are at the 5-minute mark. It's still very early on in the race, and you know, I would think that there had not been many major incidents other than the one involving Eric that led to him having to take it to the pits. It would also appear that Tamizi has gone into the pits. Something might have happened to him sometime in the laps before this.
Absolutely, it was but it just goes to show with the incident with YA a lap previously that the spoon curves really are very, very hard to master, and when you're trying to gap the guy behind you after an overtaking maneuver, it's very, very easy indeed to make a mistake through there. But now, as we see, Bruno Cardoso is right behind this pack of cars. He is in the middle of the action. Movinderjit Singh of Malaysia up ahead, and Poon of Hong Kong further ahead. So it's the Hong Kong driver in 14th place, Malaysian driver in 15th, and the Macau driver in 16th position, all within touching distance of each other. Let's see if these guys are able to get past each other coming into the 130R and Casio Triangle sections.
So very much is the case with this race, where battles do ensue all throughout the field. It does look like Bruno has also gotten a nice Macau paint scheme for himself with his Audi. I don't recall seeing him driving an Audi. I would think that he would drive other cars. But yeah, there he is. He's fighting for P15 with Malvinderjit Singh. So this is so beautiful. You can see the flags of both regions on the cars, and we're now with YA, who's trying to regain his positions lost earlier on. He's going to try and take 10th position, which he does so perfectly through turn 2, and he's now gone up a position. Sainul is down to 11th.
Absolutely, very clean racing through there. Lots of space being given by both parties, so that's what we like to see. Fantastic bit of sportsmanship through all of these battles. Right up and down the field. White and Leon now finally gets himself back up into 10th position, but Federico Teixeira is in 12th, and he might be the next person to target Zainul Hazib. So we'll see if the Macau guys can make it 2 for 2 on Zainul.
So they come upon the braking zone for the hairpin. This is a potential 4 or 5-way battle pack. Of course, they're still quite far away for this to be called a battle pack. So this is around the high-speed right-hander. Now, you know, what's worth noting is that although, you know, on some cars with a lot of downforce like Formula 1 cars, you can take it full throttle through this right stretch, but not exactly with this car. He's lost a bit of traction. There goes Federico Teixeira. He's gone a little unstable along the entry into the spoon corner, and this means that Ilham is going to come hot on his gearbox. Let's see if Ilham is going to be able to go for a move as they come upon 130R. This is going to be exciting. They're going too wide into the entry of 130R, but of course Ilham did attempt to back off there, and he might think better of it and think of an overtaking move later on in the lap.
Absolutely brave stuff from Ilham Labi there, and it looks like he's managed to get past Federico there, going into the Casio Triangle. It does look like Federico sort of gave that position up to Ilham Slavi due to the fact that he's going into the pits. Could this be a bit of a strategic maneuver with these GT3 cars coming into the pits early and having a long final stint, perhaps? But definitely having a look at these GT3 cars race, very, very different cars, some front engine, some mid engine, some turbocharged, some naturally aspirated. It really does go to show that GT3 racing is one of the most exciting categories, not only in sim racing but in the real world of motorsports. The cars are so even in terms of overall performance, but they have their strengths and weaknesses as well. So this really makes for some exciting racing with some very, very machinery indeed.
So this is Jaisrin who is rounding out this, what is going to shape to be a battle for third. Three-way battle, in fact. This is led by Simon Sanchez in third in the Macau Ferrari. We have a look at the race replay. It would look that Charles SRE might have faced a couple of issues. And this is him making his way into the hairpin.
And it looks like he might have had a mechanical issue or an issue with the sim, because he's had to pull off there very slowly indeed. That could be either a pedal issue or a issue with the car. So very, very disappointing, I am sure, for Charles. But I'm sure he would have whetted his appetite for the race to come.
We're back with we're now with the race leader. This is Michael Healy from Trick Esports, a very successful Australian sim racing team. Of course, we here in Sim Racers Asia, we did enjoy the participation of many brilliant Australian sim racing teams over the past couple of years. And as our season is still in hiatus, we've not been able to see much of them. But it's always great to see global participation in our racing events. And very much so, Michael Healy here tonight. He is leading the race. He's got close to a 4-second advantage ahead of the rest of the field, and he looks set to try to defend his lead as comfortable as he can get this to be.
Absolutely, he's doing a very good job up at the front of the field. Right now, his only worry is to try and hit his marks on every lap and try and extend that gap to Ryan Lam. Meanwhile, Jasmine Jali is doing absolutely fantastic, right up there in the top 5 positions, and he will have Saiful Arifin up ahead. That would be his next target. That is, of course, if Saiful isn't able to get past Sanchez. It looks like he is very close to Sanchez indeed. So Jasmine Jali might have a grandstand look at this battle developing up ahead from him. Will we see a overtaking maneuver coming into the spoon curves?
Very well shaping up to be. So this is a potential overtaking move that might happen. We go very close. Oh, a bit of mistake by Simon, and this is just him. He's made a bit of mistake, and he's going to bunch up the 3 drivers, and this means that Saiful has gone along his inside, and so has Jaisrin along the inside as well. So right now Saiful has made his way up to third. Jaisrin drag racing with Simon Sanchez, and they're now going to reshuffle their positions as they make their way into the 130R.
Absolutely spectacular stuff there, Saiful Arifin, perhaps putting a lot of pressure on Simon Sanchez, and unfortunately Simon just succumbed ever so slightly. Had a bit of a mistake in the braking zone, which is very easy to do, I can assure you, going into the spoon curves there, and it looks like he's dropped 2 places as a result. Just goes to show how difficult it is to try and race these GT3 cars at such a high level as we are seeing right now. But it looks like this battle between Saiful Arifin and Jasmine Jali got a little bit broken up by Simon Sanchez. It looks to be a 3-way battle for third position. Who will get that final podium spot?
So of course we did see Saiful Arifin going all defensive as he made his way down the main stretch, and he is now rounding out the S's with such good precision. And right now it is a battle that's going on between Jaisrin and Simon. Of course, it's now the turn of these 2 drivers to fight it out. It is for 4th position. They come around the Dagner corners, Simon using a little bit more of the curve than Jaisrin did along the exit of Dagner 2.
Absolutely, coming up to the hairpin here, you've got to be really careful on the brakes, just like you would around the spoon curve. With perhaps a little bit more straightforward the braking zone there, but now Bruno Cardoso is making moves further up the field. He has just claimed 10th position from Malvinajit Singh, but trust you and me, those two Malaysian Ferraris, and Malvinajit and Hazim behind him, are going to push as hard as they can to try and catch this man, Bruno Cardozo. But he has made up 4 places in comparison to his start, and it looks like he's got the pace to try and make it quite far up into the top 10 positions. But we can see there he has got 3 Malaysian cars behind him, and he must feel like he's got a little bit of a target on his back. These 3 drivers are some of the quickest drivers in the Malaysian sim racing scene, so definitely will be a challenge to see them go through.
So now going to observe Eric Wong as he tries his best to recover and clamber up his lost positions. You know, he began from second, it's dropped all the way down, and he's just probably now trying to regain his positions one by one. So this is him taking on Calvin Ha, both of them extremely fast drivers, going bumper to bumper, in fact, as they take this right curve here. So we'll see where Eric is potentially going to make his move work as they enter the spoon curve.
Absolutely exciting stuff as always from Eric Wong. Unfortunately, he had that small bit of a mistake or a problem coming up to the second lap there, but now he is up to the first lap, but now he's going to go side by side with Calvin Ha, 2 very experienced racing drivers. But Eric Wong definitely having the pace advantage over this weekend. It looks like he has the inside line going through 130R, and that is a very clean move from Eric Wong. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's very hard indeed to try and make an overtaking maneuver look as simple as that through 130R. But let's see how high Eric can get that white Ferrari up the leaderboard before the end of this race, because I suspect it's going to be absolute fireworks from this man right here. And speaking of fireworks, that has been an impact between the 2 Malaysian Ferraris. Ilham Labi has managed to avoid that incident there, but let's look at the replay. Malvinajit Singh was going through the first 2 corners of the S's there, and it looks like Zainal Hazim just ended up in the back of him, and that basically means that both the Ferraris have taken themselves out, which is a pity. But that is the risk when it comes to these sort of races, and it looks like Malvinajit's car is very badly damaged indeed, so he's going to try and limp that car around to the pits to try and avoid a tow if possible. A very high risk maneuver there, but that was a very, very surprising incident for 2 very experienced drivers there, but that has meant that Ilham Labi has gone up into the top 10 positions.
So we do in fact have imposed a 50% fuel limit, and what this means is that it will require drivers to take a pit stop. So of course it is up to drivers to decide where exactly they wish to make the pit maneuver. Some of the drivers may do it earlier on in the race, some might do it all the way towards the tail end of the race. So it is due to the fact that we have in fact hosted this session for 45 minutes. This race session takes place in 45 minutes long, 5 minutes longer than the official race, so it does mean that drivers will need the extra fuel to complete the extra race distance. So this is Jaisrin. He is currently in 4th. He's managed to hold off Simon Sanchez, who's dropped off to 5th position. He's kind of fallen back a little further behind, and Saiful Arifin leads this 3-way battle pack.
Absolutely, Jaisrin is going to be pushing as hard as he can to try and keep in touch with Saiful Arifin up ahead of him. Sanchez looks like he's dropped back a little bit, but perhaps as we're coming up to the 18th minute of the race, that the drivers are perhaps starting to get into a rhythm and starting to fuel save just a little bit. These drivers will have the data from their plugins in iRacing to try and tell them how much fuel they're consuming, what is the predicted lap that they should hit, and a lot of the drivers for sure are going to be thinking about that pit lane strategy. But definitely going to be interesting to see whether the early stoppers or the late stoppers are going to improve the most during the race here. And of course there could be incidents up ahead that could change the complexion of the race quite dramatically indeed. So Personally, I always say that these sort of longer races are far more interesting than your usual 10-lap sprints, because you really do have to race with your head as well as your heart. But it looks like Alex Pun there, absolutely precise overtaking maneuver on Tunku Ershad to move himself up into 6th place.
It's great to see Calix racing out here as well. He's giving the drivers here a run for their money as well. So he's, in fact, just already made his overtaking move. And Calix, in fact, he sits, at this point, he sits 13 seconds behind the 5th place driver of Simon Sanchez. So you can see that there have been numerous breakaways across the field now. So this is kind of the third one. First one being Michael Healy, who's all on his own, up on the race. The second being Brian Lam, all through to Simon Sanchez, 2nd to 5th. And this is 6th onwards. A two-way battle train, or rather two-way battle going on between both of these drivers.
Absolutely, and a bit of a shout out to Tunku Ershad, who's really been doing quite well for himself in the previous few hosted races that he's been involved in. Definitely improving by leaps and bounds every time he gets into his sim racing cockpit. There to be 7th in this sort of company, it really does goes to show that the AMC drivers really are improving by quite a lot compared to the start of the series. Speaking of improvements, Jezrin Jali and Saiful Arifin, Jezrin Jali has moved up 3 places compared to where he started, and he's still in the slipstream of Saiful Arifin. So let's see if he can pull anything off coming out of 130R. He's still a little bit too far away, but could he perhaps in the next couple of laps think about having an overtaking maneuver?
So we are now having a look at a replay with Afiq. Unfortunately, he's made a little bit of a mistake out on the exit of the Degner curves, and he's managed to move over to the right side of the circuit, which means that he did not get tangled out with the other drivers. So this means that he's gone down to 14th position, and he's sitting behind Malvinderjit Singh.
Absolutely, he was doing quite well for himself there. He's still much further up the field than where he started, but he was definitely in with a chance perhaps of challenging for a top 10 position. But it looks like he just got it a little bit wrong between Degner 1 and 2, and that upset the car a little bit, causing him to run out wide on the exit of Degner 2. A very easy mistake to make. The curbs there very unforgiving indeed, but Afiq Fadlan, I am sure, will recover from that quite well indeed, and he'll try and go full bore into the rest of the race. But Bruno Cardoso is the first of our front runners, first of our top 10 drivers to pit. We've already had Eric Wong in the pits, Tamizi and Leong, but that might be due to earlier incidents there. But could this be the start of the pit window for these drivers?
Yeah, it could very much be. So we've got a couple of other drivers who, in fact, have made the pit moves. So we're now with Eric Wong. He's made a couple more positions worth of gates. He's now up to 14th position, and in fact, if we have a look at his gap behind the time difference between himself and drivers up front, he is a minute behind Ryan Lam and a minute 8 seconds behind the race leader Michael Healy. So if he does want to, in fact, try to have another go at going with the race leaders, he will have a lot more ground to gain. But he is now still picking the drivers one after another, picking them off, and this is him trying to go for an overtaking move on Afiq. So they now go on to the hairpin. They're going breaking down into that corner, and we'll see if he's able to make any moves out of this exit.
Definitely will be a chance coming up ahead here, and you can see the experience of Eric Wong here, looking for a place on the right of Afiq, on the left of Afiq. Will he go for an overtaking maneuver? He thinks about going on the inside there. He can anticipate the Ferrari of Malvinderjit being on the racing line up ahead, so he's pulled himself over to the left in preparation for any possible opportunities there. That's a driver who's looking as far ahead as he can. He's on the grass. He is on the grass. He had to take avoiding action there from Afiq Fadlan, but that might be one of the overtaking maneuvers of the season. Eric Wong on the grass past Afiq Fadlan. That is one amazing move indeed from Eric. I couldn't believe it.
Let's have a look at the replay of this overtaking move. We're just going to rewind a little bit, and this is from the exit of Spoon Corner, this stretch. Look as he goes along the right, and it was kind of, he wasn't exactly pushed out, but he did angle himself outwards. He dipped onto the grass. It's all fours were on the grass, in fact, and that was how he managed to scoop up like 3-4 positions at one go, and he's made his way back up to 11th position, half of the field positions worth of positions gained in through half of the race. So I think he's pretty much trying to gain as many positions as he can.
Absolutely, and I'll pose this one question to you, Wei-Hun. When was the last time you saw a Formula 1 driver take to the grass to overtake two drivers at the same time?
I do not recall seeing that happen at all. No way, man. No way.
Well, that's why I love GT3 racing. These cars are just strong enough to be able to pull off those crazy maneuvers, and still very high-tech and very downforce orientated. These cars are definitely at the bleeding edge of technology. But I have to hand it to Eric Bull that the amount of car control he must have had to try and keep that car in a straight line on the grass, because the grass here in iRacing is slippy. I can tell you that much for free.
Exactly. And a bit of mistake by Fred Ting, and this means that he's ceded his 7th position to Ilham. He does lose one position, and we're just having a look at some of the other drivers who are going in for the pit windows, for the pit stops. So this is Tunku Ishad is going in possibly for his fuel stop. So it is at this point we do have 9 cars who've made it into the pits, so that is perhaps less than half of the cars who have gone in. So we would expect more cars to make their way into the pits at this time.
Absolutely, we're in 25 minutes into the race, another 20 or so to go, roughly, and the top 5 I saw haven't quite gone into the pits just yet, so I'm sure the majority of the field will be looking to this man here, Michael Healy, who is 8.7 seconds ahead of Ryan Lum, definitely putting the hammer down. It's hammer time for Michael Healy, really pushing that Audi R8 LMS car to its limits to try and push as hard as possible. And that would be the tactic, the ideal tactic in clear air. He hasn't got a car ahead of him, he hasn't got a car behind him. He's going to have to hot lap that car and try and set some pretty quick lap times before he gets into the pits, just to try and extend that gap to Ryan Lamb as much as possible and make that strategic decision that much easier for himself.
So he's managed to stretch his lead to 9 seconds. 10 seconds in fact from everyone else, as Ryan Lam has just made the pit stop. So yeah, this does mean that some of the drivers up front will also be pitting in the moments to come.
Absolutely, and then is this an undercut maneuver by Ryan Lam to try and gain some positions on Michael Healy? It really will depend. He will be able to push the car a little bit harder, having a fresh tank of fuel. He wouldn't have to fuel save as much as Michael does, but Michael looks like he is set for this stint. In any case, we will see how the pit stops play out at the end of the pit window. But 27 minutes gone. That's going to be Ryan Lam coming back out on track in 6th position. So he might be able to gain back quite easily the positions from Ilham, Poon or Jaswin, but it remains to be seen how far up he will end up once the rest of the top 5 have pitted.
So currently sits in 6th position, so we do have some of the other drivers out and about at this point. This is Zainul Hasim. He's yet to make his pit stop, and so do the drivers in front and right behind him, Malvinajit and Afiq as well. These 3 drivers have yet to make their pit stops.
Absolutely, Malvinajit, Hazim and Afiq, they've been pretty much together for the entirety of the race, battling for the lower half of the top 10 positions. They really want to be in the top 10 and get that bragging right, if nothing else, of being in the top 10 for the warm-up race. They'll set them up just nice for the upcoming Merdeka National Day special coming up ahead.
Oh, a bit of mistake by Tunku Ishad, and he's going to lose even more positions at this point. So he's now currently dropping down to 13th and 14th. So as he tries to find himself a place to restart his car. So let's have a look at the replay and see how exactly that incident unfolded.
Yeah, real pity for Tunku Ishad there. And again, hard into the curbs of Degna 1. The curbs all around the Degna complex of corners there, just claiming yet another victim. And there have been some fairly illustrious drivers that have gone off there, so I wouldn't be feeling too bad for myself if I was Tunku Ishad, but that must be gutting, the feeling of dropping it into Degna. But it just goes to show that the curbs around here are a little bit fierce. This is still an old school circuit, even though it does look like something out of a virtual reality arcade game. This place really does have the old school vices and the old school levels of danger. Tamiza Yusuf now in an interesting battle for 16th position. That's Calvin Ha up ahead. Azrael Nasli is right behind, and Wa'in Leong behind Azrael there. So some GT cars from different periods of GT3 racing there. The Ford GT still proving its worth after all these years.
Oh, and it would appear that the Mercedes has gone out and probably made a little bit of mistake before the entry of the Casio Triangle, and this reduces this to a 3-horse battle led by Tamizi, and it's got Azrael and White in behind. So that was Calvin Ha, who's unfortunately made that mistake upon the entry. And in the background there, that is Eric Wong rejoining the grid, and he rejoins in 17th position.
Now that's Eric Wong there, and he must be having a blast fighting through the field twice. He might not like the fact that he has to fight his way up through the field, but while you're back there, I know these sim racers, above all, they love a good bit of overtaking, so perhaps he might take some solace in that, and also he might take a little bit of solace in the fact that he has quite a lot of pace, quite a lot of race pace and qualifying pace to take him into this Saturday's race. Jazri Jali is in second position. He will lose that position very shortly indeed, because he is in the pits, and Saiful Arifin is coming around. He will claim third position. And back out of track goes Jazrin. That's a very quick stop indeed, and it looks like it's going to be very close to see if Jazrin can make that pit stop work, and he has. So he's made it into second position, right ahead of Saiful Arifin and Ryan Lamb. So it looks like Ryan Lamb there, one of the drivers that perhaps didn't do too well out of the pit stop shuffle, but that is the challenge, and that is the way these things go when it comes to pit stop races. Sometimes you win in the pits and sometimes you just lose, but that is a fantastic call from Jazrin Jali. He managed to get himself out of the pits ahead of Saiful Arifin and into second position.
So great playing of cards over there, and this means that the positions have in fact been reshuffled. So Michael Healy is still staying out. He's yet to make his pit move, so this means that he sits 53 seconds ahead of everyone else. So once he makes the pit move, he might be, that gap would be reduced. But in the meantime, yes, this is him. He's gone into the pits, and with this being a field stop, we could expect the pit time to take probably around 13 seconds. And the whole time span of time spent within the pit stop would probably take 45 seconds on average. So we'll see if he's able to he's going to rejoin on the race lead once again.
Absolutely, and that's amazing driving. He's managed to get himself into a position where it is possible that he could rejoin in the lead. If he does so, that will be an absolutely fantastic position for him. Michael Healy manages to get himself back out onto the track there. Very, very quick stop indeed from his virtual pit crew. Perhaps Michael Healy might have to get them all virtual drinks at the virtual bar afterwards, because that means he is still in the lead by a sizable amount from Jasmine Jelly. Could this be a lights to flag race? Could we see a hat trick from Michael Healy for this race?
To add to that, he would appear that he set the fastest lap time instead. He's led every single lap. He's set the fastest lap time, so he could well be set for a Grand Slam victory later on in this race. But of course, we do still have approximately 11 minutes to go to the end of this race. So, much leaves to be observed as we progress on towards the moments afterwards. But this is where the battles are still ensuing. Battle for second between both the fast Malaysians, among the fastest drivers in Malaysia. This is Saiful Arifin with Jaisun Jali battle for second position. So, of course, these two drivers are great friends in real life. Of course, when it comes to the track, when the visor's down, the gloves are off.
Absolutely. Saiful Arifin, he's raced with Jasmine Jali quite a lot. These two drivers know exactly what each other is going to do, so this is going to be an absolutely titanic battle between the two fastest Malaysians there. So, in the meantime, we'll watch Eric Wong, who's managed to get himself back up to 13th position. So perhaps this could have been a driver that could have fought amongst the leaders there, but unfortunately he's down in 13th place. But he will be, I'm sure, finding his way past Wai-In Leong as quickly as possible.
So we'll see how he's going to perhaps strategize his move on Wai-In, and this is the battle for 12th position. Now, of course, this is still the warm-up race. The actual special event will have the Merdeka SG55 sprint will take place on Saturday. Same time, same place, same format, everything will be same. It's just that we'll have a special feature to come after the checkered flag on Saturday night. Eric still in 13th. He sits, the gap between him and Wai-In sit at 4 to 5 tenths of a second. So he is going to require a bit of time for him to strategize an overtaking move.
Absolutely, although you can see him gaining slowly but surely on Wai-In. Coming into the spoon curve there, he might not be close enough to do it here, but could he do something special around 130R? He's slowly starting to be a bit of a specialist, and on overtaking maneuvers on the back half of the circuit here, going across that famous bridge. This is one of the few racetracks on the planet that is a figure eight course. So as they drive over the racetrack goes over itself at this point here, and it looks like there's been a bit of an impact there, and it looks like Eric Wong has just outbraked himself a little bit, and unfortunately he's collected Wai-In Leong in the braking zone there, so that's going to be a very, very difficult position for both drivers indeed, but that is very unfortunate indeed for Wai-In Leong.
Oh, such an unfortunate incident. What would otherwise have been a pretty much a very, very clean race that's gone on for most of the drivers in the field. Yeah, as a result of that, Eric has found himself in 12th position, and unfortunately Wai-In has to pull his car back into the pits. So I would imagine that comes along with fighting hard a lot at a place like Suzuka. So this is Saiful Arifin is going all the way up to the gearbox of Jaisun, but of course he thinks better of making an overtaking move on 130 and breaking down into the Casio triangle. Let's see what moves ensue out of this.
Absolutely, Saiful Arifin sizing up his opponent up ahead. Like I was saying earlier, these two drivers know each other very well indeed. They race against each other every weekend almost, and they'll be pushing each other as hard as possible. Friends outside of the car, but inside the car, what these two drivers want above all else is good, clean, fun, but exciting battles, and definitely fireworks are going to ensue with these two drivers battling mano a mano around the S's here at Suzuka. But it looks like Saiful Arifin is slowly gaining on Jaisun Jali. He is definitely in the window of attack. Definitely less than half less than a car length between them, less than half a car length between them. Saiful Arifin is right up underneath the rear wing of Jazrin Jali. He's trying to fill the mirrors of Jazrin up as much as possible, going through Degna 1, Degna 2. It's all about getting a good exit out of this corner to try and make an overtake maneuver work on the hairpin. Both cars race up into the hairpin there, into the braking zone, but Jazrin manages to cover Saiful off, and now it's time to see if Saiful Arifin can do anything on Jazrin Jali coming into the spoon curve.
Staging ground for a potential overtaking move to take place. Though it worth noting the fact that these two drivers have gone to being 0.5 of a second away from each other, but they returned to the backstretch, and this was where they were so close with each other, where Saiful almost went into the gearbox, the rear bumper of Jazrin. So let's see if that's going to happen once again. Saiful goes a little bit along the inside to kind of shorten his straight line. But of course, as compared to the previous lap, he's a little further behind at this point, and this is him around the 130. I can see that the texture of the track has changed a little, quite a little bit, as compared to the race earlier on, because with all the rubber being laid down on the track, with some of the dirt, sand and gravel being kicked up on the racing surface, it does show up on the graphics, and it will also affect grip a very fair bit.
Absolutely, just like in real life, as the track rubbers in, you're going to get these little lumps of rubber on the outside of the racing line and on the inside, as well as the bits of dirt and dust, and this is going to affect the race. And when you go for an overtaking maneuver race, you do have the added risk of running on the marbles there, as Ilham Hlabi is finding out here, going side by side with Fred Ting, and he manages to make that overtaking maneuver stick coming into 130R. Perhaps not as dramatic as some of the other maneuvers we've seen into that corner today, but Ilham Hlabi, a nice clean pass into 6th place, and neatly sidestepping the problem of the marbles that we've been talking about earlier.
What's this? An overtaking move by YN is on a comeback already. He's made the move ahead of Afiq. This puts him back up to 15th position. Now, of course, YN had been so unfortunate to have faced quite a couple of incidents that have marred his race, but I would still imagine that he's trying his best to get the most out of this race and have a good time, most importantly here. It was a little slow around the spoon corner. Of course, this being an off-camber corner, you have to take your car a little slowly in order not to run wide, and it goes back full throttle along the back stretch. So it's his turn to offer Afiq some slipstream, and that's also Tamizi in the background there.
Absolutely fantastic maneuver there from YN, obviously getting the maneuver done nice and quick and very succinctly around that hairpin turn indeed. But some of these drivers further back in the field unfortunately got involved in a couple of incidents, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to take something out of this race. This is a warm-up race or practice race for the big event coming this Saturday at 9. Servers open at 9, qualifying the race starts at 10, so do stay tuned for that. Kalikspun now hunting down Tengku Irshad. They might be within a lap or two of a position change.
Battle for P8, and this is Calix, who is thinking of going along the inside, but he wasn't exactly close enough to make the overtaking move work, so he returns to the slipstream of Tengku Irshad. And along 130R he comes, carrying all the speed that he can across 130R, and they now go side by side to entry of the corner. This is Calix, who's taken, he's trying to make the move up to P8 work. He manages to seal that move up as he exits Casio Triangle onto the final corner, and this is him gaining 1 position.
Absolutely fantastic positioning of the car through the Casio Triangle to try and cover off any potential maneuvers from Tengku Irshad. But look at that defensive driving from Calix Brun there. He is still under a lot of pressure. These drivers have obviously been trading places quite a bit indeed. And now, of course, with Calix up in front, he's a little bit too far away from Fred Ting to try and get any sort of aerodynamic slipstream for the car in front to try and help pull him away from Tengku Irshad. But having said that, through the S's there, Calix obviously has the quicker car going through that section there, and he manages to make that stick. but for sure we will see perhaps more action from Calix. And there's a big accident up ahead. There was a big accident up ahead there. You look at the replay, Shukran, he just had a bit of a problem there. It looks like he had a impact with the barrier, and it looks like that car is severely broken. He tries to get out the way, and he gets sent off into the stratosphere.
Oh, that was huge for Shukran.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to iRacing. At some points, you have to say, should we continue on with the physics engine, or should we send the car off into the stratosphere? And obviously, that appears to be what happened there. 43 minutes and 45 seconds have just gone right there, and Michael Healy is still in the lead. He is on course for that Grand Slam, a nice, comfortable 25 seconds ahead of Jezrin Jali, who's done very well for himself to get himself into second position ahead of Ryan Lam. Sanchez is in fourth position, and just in front of Saifur Arifin in fifth, about 1.5 seconds behind there, and Ilham Hlabi is quite far back in sixth place. Calix Pun has managed to take up quite a lot of damage there, and it looks like his engine or there's something mechanical is going wrong with that car there.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that both cars have kind of been totaled, but this is engine damage for Calix, but he is staying out. He's trying to finish this lap. He's trying to make this work. So, he's trying to probably go, push his car for one more lap. Does remind me of Rubens Barrichello back in 2010 with Brown GP car. His car was on fire, 5 laps to go, and he just his car was smoking 5 laps to go and was just pushing his car all the way until it caught fire. We could see the same thing being pulled off by Calix Pun.
And absolutely, Healy is on his final lap there, so Calix might be able to get the car to the finish, but Michael Healy absolutely dominates this warm-up race and comes across the line in first position. He had the fastest lap, he was in pole position, and now he's led every single lap of the race, including through the pit stops, which, let me tell you, in these GT3 races is very, very difficult indeed. But hats off to Michael Healy, absolutely fantastic run there. Jezrin Jali manages to come home in second position, 26.5 seconds behind. Ryan Lam, unfortunately, just wasn't able to get into battle positions to try and take that position away, but he comes in third, Sanchez fourth, Saifur Arifin in fifth position. Wow, that was one heck of a race, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely was. And as the other remaining drivers make their way across the finish line, the cars are also going around. The cars in front, they are all proceeding to make to do a parade lap. So of course, it is in preparation for Saturday, where we would in fact have a special national anthem moment. And this is Eric Wong. He's fighting all the way to the last minute. This is a battle for ninth with Muhammad Muhaimin, and they come upon the Casio triangle. So he tried to make that overtaking move work. Is he going to make it work? Oh, it would appear that he's come into a little bit of contact with Muhaimin, and he makes the move up to position 9th. And this is Eric Wong, who's managed to come home in 9th after losing, after falling all the way back to the grid. Muhaimin comes home in 10th, and Bruno Cardoso comes home in 11th.
Absolutely, there. Some very rough and tumble racing, almost like a touring car move coming out of the Casio triangle there, but it looks like Muhaimin just had a bit of a mistake, and it just goes to show with this sort of racing, you can have excitement all the way to the end of the race. Azrael Nazli takes that Multimatic Ford GT3 car home, and it's nice to see that car still out running, and Azrael's proven that you can pedal that car around the track quite quickly indeed. 13th place is nothing to sneeze at considering the age of the car, and yeah, hats off to Azrael Nazli, who has a little bit of real life racing experience, which has perhaps helped him out in setting up that sleek machine.
So of course the drivers are now commencing their parade lap, and on Saturday during this moment we will be playing the national anthems of Malaysia and Singapore. So of course right now we're just trying to get the time slot, the pace, and everything right so that it can all take place smoothly tonight. So of course they're all with their finishing order. Michael Healy is out there with Jai Swin Jali, Ryan Lam, Simon Sanchez, Saifullah. I think these are all the drivers who are some of the drivers who will come to this position. So, wow, Max, I think this is a great start to more to come. We've seen how exciting racing here can be, even though we've had just 24 drivers, with GT3 car, with a good car and a very nice track like this. We've got such amazing racing action that's taken place for everyone to enjoy.
Absolutely. Suzuka Circuit has never failed to deliver a memorable race, and this was no exception. A special congratulations to Michael Healy there, who's done an absolutely fantastic job. He didn't put a foot wrong. He drove that car to its absolute limit, and that's all that can really be said. A congratulations to Michael Healy. He will definitely be going into the main race with a lot of anticipation. Perhaps we'll see him take that position again. But just once more, we'll have a look at the warm-up race results. Michael Healy in first position, followed by Jaswin Jali in second, Ryan Lam in third, Simon Sanchez in fourth, Saifullah Rafin in fifth, Ilham Hlabi in sixth, Fred Ting in seventh, Tunku Irshad in eighth, Eddie Wong in ninth, and Muhammad Mohamed in 10th. And let me just say, there's a good mix of SRE and SRA drivers in the top 10 there, and I guess that shows that these two communities can really sort of come together and be competitive with each other in, of course, a very friendly environment.
Wonderful, and this is where drivers are flashing lights, adding on to the festive mood, that celebratory mood rather that we all have, and and a well-deserved burnout moment for Michael Healy. Congratulations to the Trick Esports driver.
So yeah, we're just going to have a quick look at some of the highlights of the race. From the start of the race here, Michael and Eric Wong, this was shaping up to be a titanic battle, but unfortunately things didn't quite turn out that way for Eric Wong. So we're just going to have a quick look to see what happened there on the start. And before we get too far into the start there, a special shout out to Calix, who managed to not only get the car to the end of the race, but he managed to complete the parade lap at the end of the race as well. So shout outs to him for nursing that car home. Now coming around the outside, he's side by side with Ryan Lam there. They're going to go into the S's, still side by side, and it looks like there was a little bit of contact there, and he went straight on. That looks to me like he might have had a problem, perhaps with his sim rig, or perhaps with something on the car not quite right there. What do you think?
Sorry, I was a little focused on the live pictures, because what's happening right now is Eric is in fact pushing Calix, but yeah, he is in fact pushing Calix as Calix has blown his engine. But yeah, that was it's just quite unfortunate for Eric that he had to face that issue earlier on in the race.
And look at that for sportsmanship. He wants to bring Calix back to the pits, or at least to the nearest exit road there. He can walk to the pits from there, I'm sure. But Eric Wong, ever the entertainer, helping Calix out. And yeah, that must be one of the stories of the race, with a blown engine managing to not only finish the race, but get to that point there. Hats off to Calix for getting the car that far. Perhaps he might have a future in Dakar rallying.
Exactly right. Also worth noting that on iRacing you've also got dirt racing, so very much it's very much something that you can always do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me myself, I come from the background of off-roading, and definitely those trophy trucks are tempting me ever closer to getting back into a rig. So who knows, I might make a comeback sometime soon. But there we see some of the drivers there with their little photo op, and that, I believe, is some of the Malaysians and the SRA drivers together in one frame. Quite a nice image. Probably sums up best what this race is all about.
Absolutely, the brilliant relationship between both our communities is it very much is very much based on the fact that we're all here to enjoy the wonders that sim racing offers us, and the fact that every time it's all about having fun with each other, or stuff like that. And very much this being something that we've always seen with SRE drivers taking going for the photo ops. It's something that definitely Sim Racers Asia has to pick up when we go racing again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'd like to leave you with that image as we head off uh, into Slumberland. Do stay tuned to Adrenaline Impact and to SRA Facebook groups for the live coverage of the Merdeka SG55 National Day special. That's going to come up this Saturday at 9 o'clock. That's when the practice session starts. The qualifying session starts at 10, immediately followed by the Merdeka SG55 special. Fantastic race up ahead. We've just seen a little bit of a preview there. Hopefully we'll get a few more of the drivers out there for this Saturday. I know a few names that might be popping up, but we'll leave that to you guys to guess for the race. But meanwhile, my name has been Matt Palmer. That has been Karo Alang. And that has been Wei Han. Any shout outs for some of you guys down there in SRA, Wei Han?
Yeah, well, special shout out to everyone who's come over to join. Even though this is a Merdeka event to celebrate the Independence Days of Malaysia and Singapore. We've got so many drivers from the extended Sim Racers Asia family coming from Macau, Hong Kong, especially, as well as our friend Freddie Ting from Brunei, and even more drivers from around the region. Michael Healy as well. I think we did recall Michael racing in Sim Racers Asia's leagues back in the day. It's just so great to see so many of us racing back here again, and I'm just really looking forward to what we have in store this Saturday night.
Absolutely, and for the SRE guys, we'd like to thank the hospitality of the SRA racers for coming over and making this an absolute event to remember. So guys, do stay tuned. It's going to be an epic race, and we will see you guys very, very shortly indeed. But from our director, Karo Alang, from our co-commentator here, Chan Wei Han, and from myself, Matt Palmer, it has been an absolutely amazing race, and we will see you in the next broadcast. Ta-ra!